I'd like to dig into a couple of examples. If you can, Charles, share a company that has done a really nice job with the 70-20-10
Oh,
approach.
sure, yeah. Let me give you one example. I can just share my screen again. There are some organizations which are doing some really good work in this area. And I think this is a good example. Citibank, which most people here will know Citibank or Citigroup. Some years ago, Citi decided that they needed to step out of this idea that all they needed to do for learning and development was to serve up courses and programs and learning pathways and so on. So the L&D department at Citibank worked with their internal comms department and their marketing people, and they came up with this whole hash be more, this whole campaign. They decided their model would be they would move from courses to campaigns. They would get learning and development to think more in the campaign mode. In other words, when we have we have a problem we're solving or an opportunity we need to take advantage of, our organizations need to take advantage of, how does L&D fit into that? So they based it on 70-20-10, although the first conversations I had at Citibank, someone said to me, Charles, we're a bank, give us a set of numbers and everyone will want to know what the numbers are all about. So they call it the 3 E's: how we learn through experience, how we learn through exposure to others, and how we learn through education. And I'd seen Intel do that, no, Cisco, sorry, do that before, and many other organizations do that. It required a mindset change because we were moving from the idea that, in fact, we produce a course to thinking about how do we create these, what I'd call 100 solutions. How can we create solutions which are embedded within the work, that are exploiting other people and that have some formal elements in? And rather than starting with course design, you start by identifying the impact. What impact is what we are doing? Is this project we're working on? What is the impact going to be? And that's a really difficult question. It comes back to the earlier question about management. If someone requests you to produce a course or do something or do whatever, if they can't describe to you the impact they want it to have, you need to really explore that deeply with them, because if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. So you start by identifying the designing. Rather than designing and building for skills, you design and develop for behaviors and performance, because learning is really just behavior change, which results in better performance. Eric Kandel, who again won his Nobel Prize on learning and memory, described learning as behavior change. So acquisition of knowledge is not necessarily learning. It's only when that knowledge or that capability is turned into doing things differently, better, and so on, do we get results. It also moved, as I say, developing away from thinking about individuals and teams into organization. So we have to start with the organization. What are we doing which is going to really help our organization? Now, it may be that you're down with a team who are working in a particular bit of the organization. Of course, you focus on those, but you need to see the bigger picture as well. And also, you're moving from just aligning learning with work to embedding learning in work. And that requires this mindset change from a learning paradigm into a performance paradigm, and which means we're focusing not so much just on the input, but we're focusing on what are the outputs going to be. I've just been reading through some research literature just earlier on today about the transfer of training. And there's been academic papers and research back to 1964 where people are trying to work out how you can measure the transfer of training. And the answer is it's extremely difficult, extremely difficult. So if you know the results you're looking for, you've got a better chance of knowing whether you're meeting whether those results are being achieved or not. And you're not trying to measure the learning bit, you're actually measuring the performance bit. Citibank is a good example. I could give you lots more, but I think for me, one of the key bits around the 70-20-10 methodology, which in this book that Jos Arets and Vivian Heinen and I published, this is where it's very different, the 70-20-10 and this performance-based methodology, is we start on the right-hand side here. We say, okay, what organizational results are we looking for? What critical tasks need to be carried out, and to what level do they need to be carried out to deliver those results? Then what are the influences? What are the environmental influences? In other words, are there things stopping people doing a good job? Do they have the right tools? Do they have good leadership? Do they have the right incentives? All those sorts of things, which are really important. And then you can start to do your design. Don't worry about all the names around here. These are the roles the key roles that we defined in terms of delivering these. So, you know, you have someone who's measuring the performance, who starts right at the beginning to identify what metrics you'll use. There's the master builder who actually builds the solution, the architect, and so on and so forth. They're really the critical elements in terms of utilizing this in practice. You need to have a methodology that you're going to use, a standard methodology. Most L&D now have standard ways of doing things, but you have twin pillars. You have the pillars of standards. What quality standards are you working to, and if you have clarity around that, then your L&D team can deliver consistent quality solutions rather than, you know, one-offs, sort of mum and pop one-offs to every challenge or every opportunity that comes along. Otherwise, we end up with our heads down, content-driven, heads down, and we don't know the impact of our work.